Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I want to go over my top 5 worst money mistakes and rank them in order from least worst to most worst. So I do feel like I have my financial life together now. I am 28 years old, so I have made quite a few money mistakes in my life, and I'm gonna go through the top 5 money mistakes. I probably have made more, but these are the main ones that I could think of that did really affect my life and my financial situation in a negative way. I know that most people make money mistakes, and it's something that is normal and a learning experience and part of just growing as a person, especially financially. Some people don't make any mistakes and they do things perfectly because they have a good example, or they just learned properly and or educated themselves in finances, but that was not the case for me, not until more recently. So the good thing about financial mistakes is that you learn from them and hopefully won't repeat them again. And it also makes you a stronger person because you come out stronger later, not only financially, but also emotionally. I'm gonna discuss these 5 money mistakes, and it's gonna go from the least bad mistake to the worst one. And I'm gonna try and predict how much money this ended up costing me. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Hopefully if you're watching this, you haven't made these mistakes so you can learn from me. But if you have made these mistakes or something similar, then you know you're not alone. So shit happens. Okay, number 5, I would say, is not saving when I was younger. And I'm putting this as number 5, the least worst, because I feel like this is very common, and compared to my other ones, it's not so bad. Like, yeah, obviously it would have been great if I had saved money starting from when I got my first job at 16 years old. I don't think it necessarily made a really significant difference in my finances. So yes, maybe I would have had more money saved, maybe I would have taken out less debt, or I would have had more money invested, but to me, it's not too much. I will say that, okay, so I started my first job when I was 16 years old. I was only making $7.25 an hour, and I worked many jobs throughout my life, just small jobs. I was a waitress at one point, a hostess, cashier at a bookstore. I worked at a doggy daycare as the groomer. So there were times that I made some more money, but I never saved any of it. Basically, I would either have things come up, so where I would have some sort of emergency, and I was very independent at the time, so I would have to pay for it myself, and so I wasn't able to save the money. I would spend the money that I earned. I had a shopping problem. You guys know that I say this all the time, or I've talked about it before. I definitely did spend my money on stupid things. There are many things that I did not need to purchase that I look back on and think is so stupid, but that's just, you know, something that happened in my life. The other aspect of it was I wasn't making that much money. And, you know, I really started saving money once I got my actual career and my income increased by like $40,000 per year. That's a big difference. So when you're making low income and you have bills to pay for, and then, you know, something happens, like you get sick or a pet gets sick, then at the time you really do have a hard time saving. And once I did switch to a career and started making more money, it became a lot easier to save even just a little bit. So I give myself grace on that one. I would say this cost me probably several $1,000s. I can't really put an exact number on it, but yeah, like obviously I would have a lot more had I saved when I was younger. If I had invested when I was younger, that's a different story. I probably would have, like, if I was like maxing out my Roth IRA, I'd probably be, I don't know, I'd probably have a net worth of over 100,000 now, right? My 4th worst mistake, the next one that is a little bit worse in my opinion, is opening my Roth IRA with Statefarm. And kind of going along with this is, in tandem with this, is taking advice from other people who you should not be taking financial advice from, because that is what I did. I was told to, you know, I wanted to start investing, and I wanted a Roth IRA. Actually, I started a Roth IRA because my CPA, who is still my CPA, he told me to open a Roth IRA because I was low income, and I put in $1,400. That's what he put on my taxes, and I ended up getting a like $750 refund because of that, because of my low income. So that doesn't work when you make a high income, but I don't know, some way, somehow, because I invested so much in my Roth IRA and because I was low income, I got a really large refund. So it was like more bang for my buck. Because of that day, I opened my Roth IRA. He is not the one who told me to open it with State Farm, but that is what I did, unfortunately, and I went with them, and I was with them for quite a long time, several years, and I just put in the $1,400. I don't think I contributed to it until like, I didn't contribute to it again until maybe 2019. The money didn't grow much in there, and it was with State Farm, but eventually it was like RBC Bank, RBC Wealth Management or something like that, and it was not user friendly. I would log in and I couldn't really see anything that was going on. In order for me to invest in that account, I would have to call State Farm and be like, hey, can you put in $100 or whatever. I could not do it myself over the internet, like with Vanguard or whatever, Fidelity if you have that. So they were definitely taking a lot of fees from me. I don't know exactly what the fees were, but my money wasn't really growing in there. So it definitely was invested. I was invested in the S&P 500, but I have no clue what was going on, but I didn't make much money. I did start investing in it. I was contributing $100 a month, I think starting in 2019. And it eventually got to like $3,000. And at that point, I did switch over to Vanguard. So I do have a video on that of when I decided to switch, and Vanguard has been 10 times better. So I would either go with Vanguard or Fidelity. Definitely don't go with an insurance company for investing in your Roth IRA. That was a big mistake. I would say I probably lost maybe $2,000 to $3,000 because of that. Maybe $1,000 to $2,000, I'm not sure. So I know that I lost less money than had I not, like versus number 5, but I still think that's a worse thing to do, a worse mistake to make. So lesson learned, and I am a Vanguard fan forever. Okay, number 3 is taking out a life insurance policy. This also goes hand in hand with do not take financial advice, who you should not be taking financial advice from, because had I listened to myself, I would not have taken out life insurance. Apparently, this is not whole life insurance, but it definitely sounds like it. It's like a combo of long-term care / retirement / insurance. So what I have is a $250,000 policy. The beneficiary is my sister. She definitely doesn't need $250K if I die. And I pay $90 a month for this. And actually, when I first signed up several years ago, I think I was like 21, 22, I don't know, super young, definitely didn't need life insurance. And I was paying $112 per month, and then I was having trouble financially, so I asked to lower it to the lowest amount that I could, and that would happen to be $90. So I've put, I don't know, it's been several years, I probably have put $7,000 to $8,000, possibly even more, to this life insurance policy, and apparently it has long-term care and yada yada. Apparently I can use it to pull money out of in retirement, but I just don't believe any of it. And this one is with America. Does that sound life? Or is it like Trans Premier Life? One of those trans, I think. And I've tried to cancel this a couple of times. Like, I can cancel it, don't get me wrong, I can absolutely cancel it. And I've done this like 3 years in a row. I meet with the guy who is benefiting off of my investment, and he just like talks me out of not canceling it. And the main thing is that I'm gonna lose all of my money if I do cancel it. And he told me basically after I think 15 years with this, I can cancel it and get all of the money that I've put in. But to me, I don't know if I'm gonna do that. Like, I could just cancel it and lose my money, but the longer I wait, the more money I'm gonna lose, and I don't like that. So I'm kind of just like, whatever. It's $90 a month, and honestly, to me, that's not that much, especially now, especially these days. And so it's like, I can stop contributing at a certain point, so that's probably what I would do, and just keep this in case I don't know, I guess long-term care is a good thing to have. I don't know, it's very confusing. Like, if you ask me what it is, I could not explain it to you, and that's the problem, is that he's explained it to me so many times and I still don't understand it. I've had many people tell me to just cancel it, but it's not that easy. Like, after you've put in so much money, it's just a bit upsetting to lose that. And I just try to think of like, maybe this will benefit me at one point, so I just kind of let it go. This has cost me of my actual personal money, at least like $8,000, but I would say way more than that. Probably, I would say like 20,000, because imagine if I was investing that instead in the S&P 500 or the total stock market, and it probably would have grown like so much more, and I would have been a lot further in that sense. So it is investing in the S&P 500 from what I see, but like I said, I don't understand it. So definitely something to avoid. Don't get life insurance. Don't get whole life insurance or whatever type of insurance this is. I know that if you have dependents, then like term life insurance is one of the better things to look at, but I definitely don't need that right now. Okay, number 2 is taking out excess student loans. I will say that this is a mistake. This isn't something I encourage people to do, but I don't regret it too much. I think I'm putting this at number 2 because it affects me still. So I started school in 2011, and I got my master's degree as well, and I finished, in 2016? Yeah, so 2011 to 2016, I took out a total of $49,000 that I definitely did not need because, for example, my master's was paid for. The tuition for my master's was completely paid for, and I even received a stipend because I was doing research, and I also was a teacher, so a TA. I was teaching a class, and because of that, I got paid, and they covered my tuition. It didn't cover fees, so I needed like, I don't know, I'd probably need like $1,500 to $2,000 a semester of cash to pay for it, but I took out more. So I remember like my first year of grad school, I think I took out $12,500. That big loan that I have, the $12,000 one, I remember was grad school, and that's a lot. Like I definitely didn't need that much. However, at the time I was living with my sister. Me and her had a house together, and so I was working. I was actually working a part-time job, plus I was teaching and doing research and getting paid for all that, but it still just wasn't enough to survive, to pay for the house, to pay for everything else. I had a shopping problem at the time, so to pay off my credit cards, things got really difficult, so I did take out more student loans in order to live. I've got to say though, I really don't regret it because I preferred to live with my sister and to be out of my house. I absolutely could have lived with my dad, but like I did not want to. Y'all will understand. You know, there's some people who can live with their parents and there's some people who can't. So at that point I was done, and I was very grateful to be out of there and to take out more money for that. It was okay with me. I probably took out $15,000 to $20,000 more than I needed. Even during undergrad, I did live on campus, so that was fine. So I did take out a lot because of that. I lived on campus for 2 years. I also took out a little bit more to get refunds during undergrad so I could get extra cash. And I had a Hope scholarship to cover a little bit of my tuition undergrad. I probably could have applied to scholarships, and I could have applied to scholarships and had some help with that, but I didn't do that. So it was a pretty big mistake, and it's not something that I would suggest people to do, or it's not something that I would want to repeat, but I wouldn't say I regret it. And like I said, I think the worst thing about it is that it's still affecting me. So it's like, these are things from 2011 and it's 10 years later and I'm still paying them off. And I think being in debt is something that is very heavy for me, and like I'm okay, obviously, but having the debt makes things a lot more difficult. If I didn't have $36,000 of debt right now, I guess like 27 since I have money saved, but if I didn't have that, life would be a lot different. Like you can do a lot more things. It opens up different opportunities for you or different possibilities. So I think that's the main thing, is I don't like that it's still affecting me, because $36,000 is still a lot of money. So I started at 49 of student loans, and yeah, so it's a bit exhausting and draining, but I wouldn't say I completely regret it. I do have videos on student loans. I can link those down below. It seems like those are helpful for some like new college students. Okay, and finally, my #1 worst financial mistake that, if you've been watching me for a while or if you've binge watched my videos or anything, you will know this, is co-signing a car with a boyfriend at the time. Huge mistake. And these, like I said, I'm trying to give how much money I think I've lost because of this. And I would say, I don't know, $5,000 to $8,000. All of this, obviously everything on this list is a lot high. It could be a lot higher if I had invested that money. So there's the opportunity cost of that. But I would say just like as a loss of money, this car cost me like $5,000, $6,000, and I never drove it in my life. So in 2015, I was in a relationship, and unfortunately I decided to co-sign on a car because I had good credit and this helped him out. And then a few years later, things went really, really bad. And he was paying for all that time until things got really bad, and he was making poor decisions just in life and financially. And at the time I also could not pay the car. So I guess if I like took on more debt, yeah, I could have, but I was barely making money at that time. So he was not making payments on the car. It was going past 30 days and it was hitting my credit. My credit score went down to 500 something at one point, and I could not afford that minimum payment either. So he kept making late payments. I ended up taking him to court for this. I had like papers, whatever, some contract in place, and things were good for about like a year. He was paying me a year or two, I don't know. But then eventually he was late again making payments, so I started garnishing his wages, but then he filed bankruptcy. It was just this huge, huge mess. I have a whole video on this. I don't know why I'm explaining it. I'll link it down below if you're interested in that. I cry in it and everything. So it gets a little dramatic because it was very dramatic. And this one is my worst money mistake, even though I only lost $5,000 to $6,000, which isn't too much in the grand scheme of things. But there was a lot of emotion around this, so it was really affecting me mentally. I lost a lot of sleep. I was very stressed out. I would cry a lot. And it was just tied to this person who I did not want in my life anymore. And I was still connected to them because of this stupid car that I had never driven. And I wanted it to be over with. And this lasted from 2017 until 2020. So you can imagine how much of an emotional toll this takes on somebody. And I understand that it was my silly mistake to make, and I shouldn't have done that. But it still sucks, you know, when you're not doing the wrong thing, you know. I was just, at the time, that's the decision I had made, and I didn't expect for him to not pay it, or I didn't expect for us to break up and have such a horrible breakup. So it was super mentally taxing, and I think that's why it's my #1 mistake. It's just because the money side of it, especially money problems when you already have money problems, and then bringing in court stuff with that. I had to pay attorney fees. It was very expensive. I had to pay for the car. I ended up paying for the car to turn it in. So that video explains everything, but because it involves so many emotions, that is #1. And I definitely really discourage people from co-signing with anybody. I would not even want to do it with family, to be honest, unless you are okay with making those payments yourself, and or possibly having a bad relationship with the person you're co-signing with. So just keep that in mind. Anytime you get money involved with people, it's just not a good thing. So those are my top 5 money mistakes. As I said, the relevant videos will be linked down below. I wanted to film this video for a while just because it may seem like every video you watch, I have my things together and I'm saving more money and doing all these great things. My income's increasing. But there's a lot behind it too. So there's always a learning lesson behind everything. And because I've made mistakes, I feel like it has helped me in my finances a lot, even if I've lost money. And I just wanted to share this so that people don't think that everything is just rainbows and lilies here, that I definitely have made bad financial decisions and I haven't always been good with money. And to show that you can get better with money and things will get better if you're persistent and consistent, because that's your only option. You know, if you want to get to the other side, you just have to push through those difficult times, keep on doing the best thing for you, and keep on educating yourself in finances, because you will get out on the other side in a much better place. I guarantee that. But yeah, that is it for my top 5 money mistakes. Please feel free to comment down below if you've made any of these, or if you want to share your own. I love to see what people talk about in regards to finances. So thank you all so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video.